Cleveland is all the rage right now. Of course, we know it here in our area, but now they're really starting to figure it all over. We're going to do it right here in Cleveland in front of all the fans, unlike we've gotten to do for anything else during the series so far. We've got all of these organizations here. We've got the basketball team, as you heard, everyone's out here, and we are going to be here until 6:30. And Beth has given us a little heads up. We got the best day of the week that we are out here this week. It's going downhill from here, right? Yeah. Where you see the shadow from this sign here, just in front of that, there's a car that's gone off the road. You can kind of see where the tracks are of the tires as it went off the road. It looks like it rolled over at least one time. I do expect there are injuries there. Don't mind me, I'm just going to be busy here. Sam, I think we're sending it to you. We want to show you what those boundaries are exactly, and it starts right here. You've got 6th Street to the north here. That's going to be the northern edge. It's going to go over to McKinley and follow McKinley all the way south till you get to 4th Street here, and then over 4th Street till you get to Walnut. So we're basically drawing a big rectangle here, so everything that is enclosed within this space here is going to be the area that you can use these open containers and walk around. Now, do remember that there will be signs that when you are walking out of that area, those signs will let you know that you have crossed the line and you are no longer covered. You can find a list of the participating businesses on our website. Good morning. Well, we are about 20 minutes west of Cleveland, where we're in front of one of our major highways here, and traffic is moving around quite slowly as we've got these snow-covered roads. But what is coming through here? Snow plows by about 2 and 3, trying to make it so these roads are cleared up. These temperatures, well, they are just downright dangerous. That's why these warming centers have opened up to help people out in these cold times, because when you're out there, and many out there can yeah, if you just saw us just a couple minutes ago, you saw that we were still outside. That's because they hadn't opened the doors yet, but things have drastically changed. I got to move inside, run inside, really, and you can see there are already some shoppers in here. How cool is it, though? We have 2 teams going to the finals.
Yeah, that's good.
This is something lucky about the Q, right? And we're expected to learn more information about the abduction and attempted abduction in Elyria and in Cleveland today. Call your senators and your representatives and tell them that this is not okay, if you feel that way. The Fiesta Bowl face-off against the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Clemson Tigers is tomorrow in the heart of the desert in Arizona. That's where we find Tia Ewing this midday. Tia, you ready to cheer on those Buckeyes yet? Hard to believe it ever got that bad.
Could go that long.
Yeah,
right?
The supervisors weren't. Whatever, beats me. Carl Monday will find out, though. You bet that. They ride the Rapid daily to avoid this.
Because the traffic sucks and parking sucks.
All walks of life are jumping on the public transit to avoid congestion on our roads.
Students, professionals, people going to the casino, all downtown functions and venues.
Scott Pitts commutes on the Rapid from the Cuyahoga-Lorain County border every day. He saves on parking costs downtown. He certainly saves on gas. To him, it's a win-win. But as this Red Line train pulls in at Tower City, it's not just riders like Scott aboard. It carries a burden, too.
There's a national problem with infrastructure. Our bridges are collapsing. Our roads are in terrible shape.
Public transit rail tracks are in the same state of disrepair.
Primarily some drainage issues, where we have to take up the track, take up the railroad ties, take up the ballasts, and really put a new sub-base in.
So you can see where the ties down here, what the problem is the cracks that you see throughout those ties. Those ties have to be replaced, and the federal government mandates that these trains must move slower through the area, which is why you'll see those 15-mile-an-hour signs slowing down these trains from 45 miles an hour or so. So this keeps the train safe for the passengers inside. If they went through normal speed, it wouldn't be safe.
If we had more money, those would have been done sooner, and if they were done sooner, we wouldn't have the slow orders we have today.
There lies the problem, money, and what RTA calls a massive budget shortfall.
We wish we could do more, but we have a missing funding partner, and up till now it's been the state.
According to a 2014 study by the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, Ohio ranks 38th. That's way down on the list out of 50 states plus DC in money spent per person for public transit. That's 63 cents invested per person. Now our neighbor, Pennsylvania, well, they're closest to Ohio in population size with about a 10% larger population, but funding for their public transit is over $85 per person. Plus, not a single state with a larger population ranks lower, but 31 states with fewer people than Ohio spend more money on transit per person.
The numbers are astounding.
Then there's this. From that same study, Ohio is in the top 15 states for public transit ridership, but again, in the bottom 15 for funding from the state. Add it all up, Joe Calabrese says typical transit systems get about 20% of their funding from their states. Here in Ohio, he says RTA gets less than 1% from our state.
And that's why we can't do more.
Now, less money doesn't just mean slower repairs on the tracks, but also on the buses and rail cars. ODOT says 2,700 Ohio transit buses are on the road and 900 are considered beyond their useful life, but they're still on our roadways.
It means they might be a little rickety. It means they might not get as good fuel mileage. It means they might not be as comfortable. It means they might be more pollutant than newer buses.
He says RTA keeps buses on the road for 15 years that should be replaced every 12 years. Still safe, he says, just not ideal.
You know, these trains need work, the tracks need work, some of the buses break down. You know, it's not fair to us as consumers.
Rachel Kroon commutes by RTA bus and Rapid every day from Euclid to Westlake. It's a 2-hour ride, but to her, it's worth it to avoid paying for gas and rush hour traffic.
The traffic is horrible in the morning, and with the wintertime coming up, I hate driving in the winter.
But to her, slow zones and closures make her long commute even longer. She says it's time for the state of Ohio to pick up a bigger share of the costs.
It's not fair to us to have to bear that burden.
So the big question, how did it ever get this bad? From 2000 to 2015, RTA has seen their state funding decrease from $13.5 million to under $2 million. And how does this ever turn around in a time where we're trying to move forward? RTA says there's demand from people, businesses, and the state to expand. But how can RTA grow when the budget is doing the exact opposite? It's a scenario RTA deals with every day. Laura DeMaria, Cleveland 19.